I'm turning it on now.
What is recorded? Is it the audio or both the audio and the video?
Audio and video.
Okay. Are they securely maintained?
What do you mean?
Well, who can get at them?
Well, I have access on my work computer.
Okay. So I would prefer that there's no is there any public access to the meeting recordings?
They get posted on YouTube so that you guys have access to them.
Okay. But
and
what
and
and the
have to be
public?
available to the public.
I'm sorry?
They have to be available to the public, any sort of recording.
Okay. All right. I'm going to appear with no image from now on.
Okay.
I mean, it's half a loaf, but I don't want to, the less my face is out on the internet, the happier I am. Okay, thanks for your help.
You're welcome.
Darn. Maybe you could put a photo of your cat up or something, David.
If I could figure out how to do it, I would, but I've been completely unable to figure out how to get my cat avatar up.
Okay.
Besides, this way I can pull a tube in.
Yeah, really.
Get a pair of Groucho glasses. No one will know it's you.
Yeah, right. That facial recognition software is pretty powerful.
Ooh, it's 7:01. Let's see, who do we have? Missing a couple of people. I guess we'll give it a minute. Do we have a quorum? 1, 2, we do.
Oh, yeah.
Quorum. Yeah, okay, we'll
Yeah,
get
we're here.
started. Yeah. Okay, I'm calling to order a regular meeting of the Woodstock Environmental Commission on Wednesday, October 21st, 2020 at 7:01 p.m. Present are members Alex, Arlene, Bob, David, Aaron, yeah, Aaron, okay, Nick and Julia, okay, we're all here, good. Guests attending this evening are Lauren Rose, Ken Panza, and I think that's it, okay. So does everyone have a copy of the draft agenda?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Are there any changes you'd like to propose?
No.
Okay, may I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll motion.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
The minutes are, I'm sorry, the agenda is adopted. Has everyone had a chance to review David's draft minutes for October 7th?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, any changes, any further changes needed?
No.
Okay, may I
No.
have a motion to approve the minutes, please?
I'll motion.
Okay, I'll second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, great. The minutes are approved. I picked up the mail. There was no mail, so there's no correspondence. Anyone have an announcement they'd like to make this evening? Oh, welcome, Laura.
Hi.
Great. All righty. Okay, so let's get into it. The first item up tonight is the Amy property resolution. So, Erin, do you want to give us a summary of that, or?
Yes. You guys can hear me, yeah?
Yeah.
So the meeting went pretty long last night. It was it actually went a little over 2 hours. I stayed on for an hour and a half. I thought it was ending and I signed off, and then lo and behold, it actually went on for an additional 40 minutes. But I was able to watch it on the YouTube channel this morning. You guys can watch it. I sent you the link. After a lot of discussion, the resolution that we recommended actually was passed 3-2. So that was good. One thing that I was a little bit disappointed about, Laura, I'm glad you're on the call, was that that you were a bit unfamiliar with it and spoke to it, saying that we were asking the town to pay for the test, which wasn't quite what we were asking. And then you actually voted against it, which was disappointing. I wanted to give you a chance to maybe speak to that. You also said you didn't get a copy from us, which we sent it to you on the 9th.
No, I didn't actually say I didn't get a copy of it. I did not say I did not get a copy from you. The reason why I had asked that the proposal be tabled, the reason being is there was a lot of excellent discussion last night at the meeting, And the property owner of the property, which is at fault, was there, and he is working with his engineer and looking into how best to remove materials. And we have a meeting scheduled for this coming Tuesday. We scheduled a special town board meeting to hear his response of what his plan is. And I felt that the resolution should be tabled. It was well discussed. A lot of new news came up. I felt that it should be tabled. And I thought that some of the therefore be it resolved could have been based on the news. Sometimes projects evolve. I'm a professional project manager, as a lot of people know, and projects can evolve with new news. And I felt that tabling the resolution for a week while we come back and find out where the offending property owner was going to be working with his contractor and the different people to figure out, not Corollas, but working with engineers and other people to figure out how to remove the materials. I thought that removal of the materials and a date which that would be done would make a difference on what the resolution ought to say. I felt it was premature to approve it last night. I am in full support of Amy property being addressed. I'm in full support of watching out for the neighbors. When I read the therefore be it resolved parts of the resolution, it was not clear about who was going to pay. The whereas sets the stage of what the current situation is.
Laura,
Therefore,
can I just stop you there for a second?
Sure.
When you're saying the be it resolved, it wasn't clear who was going to pay. We copy and pasted the town code into the resolution so that there wouldn't be confusions. And it clearly states the town can compel the test and hold the property owner responsible, so much so, and even put a lien against their property. What are you confused about that?
Well, I guess I was focused mostly on the be it resolved. And also there was some confusion about, is it the zoning law or there's the other law? There are two laws. There's the law where you can't dump materials, and then there was the zoning law. So
Right.
if somebody is opposing the zoning law, there are certain steps that can be taken. If they're opposing the other law, there's different steps that can be taken. So maybe I was more confused than I should have been, but I felt like it could have been more straightforward. But I thought more importantly that what is being requested could be changed based on the news that the property owner brings next week. And I felt that the resolution should have been tabled for a week. That is
Okay.
why.
Now, can I speak for a second? I listened to, because Aaron so kindly told us to listen to the YouTube. So I listened to it before this meeting. And I was really concerned that they were saying how long it would take. First of all, they might not get the contractor to do anything. They will definitely not get this guy who delivered everything to do anything, because he hasn't done anything in 3 years. Is
Yes.
that?
Corollas isn't going to do it. We know
So
Corollas isn't gonna do it.
saying all that, this, no matter how much this landowner says he wants to do something, it's getting to be winter. It's going to start freezing. This could go over to the spring, and without a resolution in place, there is no reason for that guy to keep moving on this.
Yeah.
Well, the resolution, I would have hoped to have approved it this coming Tuesday. I felt uncomfortable approving it this past Tuesday. I want to see what he was going to say. I agree with you 100%. And I raised the point that winter's coming. I raised the point at the
Right.
meeting last
So
night.
what do you think is going to happen in 1 week that he's going to have get done?
He's
That's
not going to
gonna
get anything done in a
Well,
week.
I want to hear what he says.
Well, I think it was the resolution that pushed.
Wait,
Yeah.
let Laura speak, please.
I think, I believe that he understands, that the property owner understands he has to act. I believe it's clear to everybody, and hopefully the property owner too, that he's not going to get Corollas to act before winter comes. If he's going to get that stuff off of his property, he needs to do it right away. And I want to see what his plan is to get that material off of his property, because in my view, the required testing will change. If he were by some miracle, Corollas is not going to do it. He's probably going to have to pay somebody else to do it, because if we wait for Corollas, I agree, throw the book at him and make it as expensive as possible for him to be testing soil and water and runoff and wells and everything. But I felt it was appropriate to find out what his plan is. What he said himself was he's got to go talk with, I forget whether he said it was his engineer or who he's going to talk with, but he wanted a chance to talk with his engineer, and I wanted a chance to hear what he came back with this coming Tuesday. I didn't think that waiting a week was a problem. I thought it was appropriate to wait a week.
Okay.
That was my position.
Thank you very much. So I think.
I just had,
and- Oh, sorry. Yeah, Bob. and
I just
then
had
Mike.
one comment. I think approving the resolution perhaps motivated the property owner.
That's a good point.
Well, he was motivated. The resolution was approved at the very end of the discussion. And
But he knew it was out there.
He was definitely, well, exactly.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
don't mean to, Laura, I don't mean to interrupt,
Okay.
but I don't want to take the whole meeting on this, but I
Okay.
just want to, I think that we can, and I'm going to put something out there, and if the other team members of the WEC agree, I think just going forward, it sounds like there was some miscommunication, which happens, we're in the time of COVID and emails and whatnot. But going forward, like from between now and next week, Laura, if you have any questions, please reach out to any of us on the WEC. I have been taking the lead on this, so I have been kind of a central bottleneck for a lot of the emails and information. But I guess all I would say is, so we don't get any more surprises, if you have any concerns or you're not, sure of something, or something doesn't sound right to you, then please reach out to us so that when we do have this meeting next week, we get more of a feel for where everyone stands. And if you disagree with it, that's fine too, but just let us know that, because we were, at least I was under the impression that you were supporting this resolution after we voted unanimously on it. But
well, if
And
could
I
say
have a
one more thing.
question about what actually happened at the meeting. From what I understand, Laura made a motion to table the resolution. That motion to table was defeated 3-2. Was there a separate vote on the resolution after the motion to table had been defeated?
yes,
Correct.
And that was
correct.
5. What was the vote on that? Just from
that vote was 3-2 in favor of passing the resolution. So
Okay.
Councilman Rose, Hepner, and Earls voted for it. Bill and Laura voted against it.
on both the motion to table and the motion to pass.
Well, flip and flip, right? Because Laura
Yeah.
and Bill wanted to table it, so that they were right, and then the
Right.
3-2 was to
Okay,
pass it.
thank you.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
I do want to say one more thing. Is my decision to ask to table it and my decision to vote against it came as a result of the conversation. So as you say, let you know ahead of time how I feel. Well, I gather information all the time. This is a dynamic world. Things change all the time. It was the conversation and the fact that, and I agree with what Robert, I don't know if you go by Robert or Bob, I agree with your point. The resolution being there and people being ready to vote for it, I believe got the landowner to act. I agree with you. The resolution was good. But again, it was the conversation and him agreeing he's going to see what he can he's going to look into it, see what he can do. And him telling us on Tuesday, I felt that the resolution, we may want to perhaps modify it based on what his plan is.
Okay.
That's why I wanted to table it.
So okay, great. So Alex, you wanted to say something?
I just have a question because I'm a little confused slightly. And I watched as much as I could of this before I wanted to throw my phone at the wall of the town board meeting while I was at work. But I'm confused about what the connection is between us making sure that this well gets tested in a timely manner and this D-bag who is responsible for this, like hemming and hawing about what he's going to do about it. But like, I mean, I'm a parent of 2 little kids. No one tells the truth. I mean, come on. Like, shouldn't those things be separated? So great if he can come up with his contractor a way of remedying this situation at some point, whether we believe that or not. But it seems like that issue should be separate from getting this guy's well tested so that we know that he's drinking water in his home that isn't harming him and his family. Like, those can't be mushed together, right? Am I
Yeah. So Alex, that's a perfect question. As always, you ask good questions, but I think that's a good question to move forward, because I think I would like to suggest or ask the WEC that what we do now is play the role of the Environmental Commission and advise, as we are tasked with doing. And over the next week, we try to keep, which is what the resolution, the point of it was, is to keep it as neutral and to have the town get the testing done by a neutral party, by a qualified, accredited person. And we make sure that, if one property owner hires somebody and then another property owner hires, there could be bias there, right? If you're paying a company to do something, but as the town, if we do it, then the hope is that they're going to be somewhat neutral and they're going to give us somewhat of a unbiased result. Is that kind of what you were saying, Alex? That we shouldn't depend on the property
Yeah, it
owner?
wasn't what I was saying exactly, but yes, it's correct that I don't trust the guy that this guy's paying to tell us what the truth is. But just that tabling, I don't understand the point of like waiting to hear what his solution is as being related to making sure this guy's well gets tested, because he's drinking that water today and tomorrow. And this guy could take 2 months. He might come up with a great plan. Listen, he might come up with a great plan. I don't know. It might take 2 months for it to happen. Meanwhile, this guy's drinking this well water. So shouldn't we be making sure just that is safe?
And the beauty,
while also
Okay.
hoping a plan gets
So Laura,
made?
do you have an answer to that?
Well, right. I agree with you, Alex, 100%. My issue with the resolution was it talked about the 3-year plan and the 5-year plan for testing water. I agree with you. The water ought to be tested pretty quick.
wait. The resolution actually says the water has to be tested within 30 days. Then it has to be continually tested after that for up to 3 years.
Right.
Really wish you had read the resolution, Laura. I
I
really,
did, Aaron, I read the resolution. I read the resolution, and it like you're saying, do it now, and then the 3-year plan and the 5-year plan. My issue with the resolution was I think the 3-year plan and the 5-year plan maybe could be different. If the guy gets his stuff out before winter, which is a long shot, I get it. But if he gets the stuff out by winter, do you need 5 years of testing? If the
No.
stuff's hanging around, yeah, I think you do. But based on what his plan is, and that's what my issue with the resolution was, the 3-year
Okay.
plan and the 5-year plan. That was my
Okay.
issue with the resolution.
there's
And I
no
read the
5-year plan in the
resolution, so
resolution, by
that
the way.
it's-
It's only a 3-year. There's no 5-year. But anyway, let's
I
stick.
thought I saw a 5-year in there somewhere.
Nope, only 3. But the more important part is the resolution says within 30 days test. So that's a very good starting point, right? So
And I just want to throw in, there was discussion about lawsuits possibly with the town, with other people. And once that starts getting raised, then this resolution will count for more.
agreed. I agree.
That
So
means
I'd like to
that
hear from the rest of the
will
group.
happen.
I know I've been running with this for a while and kind of doing stuff, and I can sometimes be overbearing, and I don't want to do that. So I want to hear from you guys to make sure that so over the next week, I'm going to dedicate time to like doing a next steps plan. I will email you guys as far as how we can get testing. I'm going to get some quotes and going forward. And I wanted to still kind of recommend and give Lauren what he needs as far as information. Feedback? Be gentle.
Just the resolution got passed, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So the well's going to get tested in 30 days.
Well,
The
that's if,
The resolution can be rescinded, correct, Laura?
Exactly. And they talked about that.
what?
You
I
mentioned.
believe they said I
Doing
believe
some other-
in the meeting, I thought I'd heard it could be rescinded.
Right.
Well, what Richard said is that Richard said he'd rather vote for it now, and if it needs to be cleaned up, rescind it, with the idea to replace it with a corrected resolution if it needed to be corrected. So the rescinding was not to rescind it for the sake of rescinding it. Rescinding it was if it needed to be readjusted, rescind it to put a readjusted one in place. So I don't worry about it being rescinded. And the 5 years there, and I just double checked, it had to do with how long to keep the records on file. I knew I saw a 5-year statement in there, but it had to do with keeping records on file.
Okay.
So my question to Lauren and Laura is, do we have confidence that there will be testing done within 30 days? Because this resolution has been passed?
I don't.
Well, I guess there'll have to be the question of who is driving the testing. So anyway, but we're part of it is the meeting Tuesday was to understand next steps. That's the whole reason why we're having a meeting this coming Tuesday, is get the property owner in to understand next steps. But your question is a very good one. Who is going to take the lead to make sure the testing happens? And Alex's point is a good point, is who's going to be independent so we all trust the answer.
Well, so first of all, it seems to me that a town board member needs to lead it, and I'm looking at you, Lauren. Actually, you can't tell that, but I am looking at you. And I am 100% behind the resolution. I vigorously support it. I will give you, Lauren, whatever support you need, and also you, Laura, if you're going to be on the pushing it as well. This is something that needs to be done. I read the hydrology reports and that were done in August, I believe, and they're scary. This stuff got to get handled right away. I am complete.
Well, I'll do everything I can. But implementing it, I guess it's up to the town supervisor and the building inspector. And they've had this for 8 months. And with their little cloak and dagger show, the pile of crap still sits there.
Well, Lauren, you know everyone really well. Do you have a suggestion of what would be an effective step that we could take that would help? I mean, should we hang up signs all over town with like Bill McKenna's face that say like well polluter? I mean, I don't know. You tell us.
Be kind of poetic if they said dump Bill. But I'm not suggesting that. I have my little sick sense of humor. That's all. I don't know. I'll keep on it the best I can.
Well, if we get you, say, 2 quotes from 2 labs with the actual items to test for and an actual quote, and say you have 2 quotes, can you then vote on spending the money and having the test done again as a town board, or no, does it have to be Bill that signs off on it?
I think we already voted to pay for the testing. That was part of the resolution.
Yes.
So
I would, if you get me the prices, I'll take them into Pam and see if she'll cut a check for it. Or
I'll have you prices by next week. I'll have a bill for you.
I mean, I don't know if it's gonna fly, but that would be the best way to approach it.
Okay.
You know, and I still have one question, and that is, and Robert, maybe you can help with this. This fill was, there had to be an engineering report done for the height of the fill, for the way it was drained, for the slope of the fill, for the proximity to the neighbor, to make sure that it met building code. Isn't that correct? I don't know. I can't imagine.
Arlene, can I fill you in on that? I'm sorry, here I am talking again. That is correct in a perfect world, and according to the process that should have been done, it was not done.
Okay.
And what happened was Ellen issued a stop work order saying, I need this information. But then what was provided, which we have copies of, didn't quite meet that, but she still lifted the stop work order.
Mhm.
So it's frustrating because there was not a proper plan in place. The plan he said he was going to follow wasn't followed. So it gets real messy. But you're right, that should have been done.
Well, another thing to consider is that was his engineer that was talking to us last night.
Mhm.
He claims he knows nothing about this. He doesn't know dirt at all, but him and Carolus share the same attorney. So they must know each other. He had to have, I mean, how do you get 1,000 yards of concrete and other rubble dumped in your yard and have no knowledge of it?
Yeah, I thought that was really fishy.
I'm a cynic anymore. I was born in the country, but it wasn't yesterday. And this is, I just don't believe it. So what he was saying at the meeting was he's gonna sue Carolus, and when he gets that money, he'll clean up the mess.
Well, I heard him say that he
Shouldn't that be the other way around? Shouldn't he clean it up and then he gets to figure out what to do next?
Yeah, that's
Well,
right.
I mean, that guy knows exactly what's in there. Give me a fucking break.
Yeah, that's why
F-bomb!
the reason why
Yeah, and it
we're
wasn't
meeting with
me.
him the reason why we're meeting with him Tuesday is to have him to explain his plan, because I would say everybody agrees that if he waits till he wins a lawsuit with Carolus, the mess will just get worse and worse, and the contamination will get worse and worse. So we want to hear him give his plan on Tuesday of when's he going to get it out of there, and hopefully he's not waiting for a lawsuit, because if he is, then we should be throwing the book at him.
But is there also a way? I mean, it seems like there are some people in the town who might be later implicated in some responsibility for some of this. Is there a way that they should not be involved in the decision-making process of who looks into it? I mean, that seems unwise, perhaps.
When you say people being implicated, you're referring to who?
Just like if there were people who were letting things happen that like maybe without dotting their, dot the I's, like we've been discussing, like shouldn't those people perhaps not be the same people who decide what testing gets done and how this all is handled?
It's difficult in a small town. You're talking about the town supervisor and the building inspector.
I'm
So
not
he
naming
has-
any names, David.
I know you're not, but you
Well,
are.
In the
We get it, though.
referendum, the resolution we passed, you people get to appoint somebody to oversee it, if I read it correctly.
And it says not a town employee or a relative thereof.
We have this great environmental person that just joined our group that seems to know a lot about this stuff.
Oh,
But he's a
by the
town
way,
employee. But he is a town employee.
Correct. A volunteer, anybody on one of these boards is a town employee, even though they're a volunteer.
by the way,
Well,
I just have to say, Bob has been so helpful, you guys. I have been emailing him and texting him and bothering him about this, and I've learned more from him than I'll ever know. And he has been so helpful. You guys should know that. He's really been helpful with like this technical stuff.
Welcome to Woodstock, Bob, where people will work a willing horse to death.
that's okay. I just want to say one thing. If this well sampling moves forward, the laboratory, the field technician signs certain legal documents that essentially attest to he's done it in accordance with regulations. The laboratory has a certified, the results will have a certified laboratory stamp on it. So the issue of conflict of interest, I don't think is one of great concern, as long as it's outsourced, as long as I'm not collecting the samples.
Yeah, it's my understanding that the labs themselves send somebody up, so the chain of evidence is coherent.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Okay.
And thank you, Aaron.
Under what circumstances would a request to have the testing done not be approved by Pam?
I don't know.
Okay,
I
so,
guess we'll find that out. I would think that if we have the majority decision on the board, that if I take her that, she should cut a check for it. You know, whether that happens or not, I can't tell you. I don't understand why this has been handled the way it was. So I can't tell you. I don't pretend to understand how it's going to be handled from here on out. But we've shown a light on it. So
Mhm.
That's-
Well, the issue that has happened so far, though, because Bill has made repeated visits to the site and Ellen has made repeated visits to the site. And the issue is every time they went, there was not a problem seen. I mean, you could say, well, yeah, but the amount of fill keeps growing and growing and growing in the yard. But whenever they would go, they weren't seeing piles there. They would see spread out, you know. So they did go and they did take some, you know, they were looking for action to take, but they never caught them in the act. But granted, of course, the evidence is there because there's all that junk. So definitely the evidence is there. But I do believe that as people go to solve the problem, as Lauren says, everybody, and thanks to Lauren has done a fabulous job. I want to compliment Lauren because he made sure everybody went up there and took a look. And so I did go there and take a look too, and it certainly is appalling. So I don't expect, you know, if you have Bill and we have a water department, oh, by the way, Larry Allen, I'm not sure why we don't get Larry Allen. I don't think anybody's going to try to have the water test be other than what it really is. I don't think anybody's planning to sabotage anything for sure. I think now that we've shed light on it, everybody wants to get the real answers out. And the resolution says that a town is going to pay for these water tests. That's what I'm reading in the resolution, where I would have liked to have had it say that the offending property owner would have been paying for these water tests. But in any event,
he is going to pay for it.
Is the town could back bill?
They're gonna
Right.
put a lien on the property.
If he doesn't
Ken-
write, if he doesn't
Sorry.
write the check, he gets a lien on the property.
Right. Ken, you're on the call and I know that you have some knowledge about the process, the financial process. Do you know of anything as far as if a council person goes to Pam and asks for payment on a voucher, the process of what's needed, or is a vote needed, or since there's a resolution, you know, can you shed any light on this?
Well, it's like any other voucher. I mean, you submit it, the supervisor signs it, all the.
Oh, okay. So Bill's gonna have to sign off on it.
Well, I think this is a little different because I believe we have to write the check first.
yeah.
Yes.
There are three signatures. Vouchers are approved with 3 signatures, just like the resolution was approved by 3 signatures. Vouchers are approved by 3 signatures. You get 3 signatures and you get the check
Who can sign?
There are 5 town board members. My
Mhm.
understanding is 3 signatures gets a voucher paid.
Okay. Can we count on you for one of those signatures, Laura?
Well, you can. The resolution got passed. I think you got. Again, I'm reading right here. Therefore, be it resolved, the town of Woodstock will hire and pay for a testing agency. So I
Keep
guess maybe
reading. Keep
well,
reading.
keep reading. Yeah. Okay. Well, I will keep reading. All right.
You know, you would need a bill from the company that you're gonna,
Okay.
Yeah, they would send a contract.
Maybe
Yeah.
I'm looking at a wrong iteration of this resolution, but this is the copy I was looking at last night. And I'm seeing the town of Woodstock will pay. And I'm actually not seeing, maybe it's above that. Anyway, never mind. But I'm not seeing where it says that the guy's gonna,
So I sent it to you in an email today. Forget, I don't want to dwell on this. Anyway.
well,
All right,
anyway,
well, if you don't need me anymore, I'm going to sign off. And if you get me the prices, I'll take it in, try to get it paid, see how it happens.
Okay.
All right, and I just want to thank you all for all the help you've done on this. You guys are, I mean, I get the big salary, so, but you guys are working for nothing, so I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Take care.
And I'll
Thanks
see
for
you later.
hanging up, Lauren. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Does anyone have anything more they'd like to say, or should we move on?
But
Okay, let's move on. All right. Next up is the dance camera. There's really not much to say, except that Ashley told me today that it's on the town board agenda for the meeting of November 17th. So anyone who would like to join me at that meeting to help present it, it would be, much appreciated. Okay.
Julia, do you mind repeating that? You cut off on my end for a second. I
okay.
missed the whole juice of the sentence. I'm sorry.
Okay, so the dance camera memorializing resolution will come before the town board at their meeting on November 17th. Okay, so we should be there to present it to the town board and explain what it is we had in mind and answer any questions they may have. Do I have that right, Laura?
yes, that all sounds good. Now, well, 2 things. One thing I will say, well written, love it. I'm in full support, just so there's no confusion. I'm in full support of that. I did have somebody ask whether Ken agreed with it. I know Ken is not an official, Ken is an advisor to the whole town of Woodstock on so many things. Can it be said that you agree with the dance camera resolution, or will you have any disagreements that you're going to want to talk to?
I have no opinion on it. I don't need to take an opinion or position on it.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
Right. Do we anticipate that there will be people who are, I suppose they could, who could come and just say, no, this is a terrible idea. And then we'll have to try to answer all those questions, but
I don't know who would say it's a terrible idea,
I can't imagine, but okay.
but this
All
is
right.
Woodstock, so you never know.
You never know. Okay. Anyway, that's the date. That's the time. So I don't think there's much more to say about that. We'll move on to the natural resources inventory. There's a meeting tomorrow at 5. And Aaron, I think, I don't know if you happen to take any notes. I know Ingrid was looking for those, if you have anything at all from the last meeting.
Yeah, I sent them to her, but it seems like I send them to her and then she does the update and she says, oh, I already did the update. Can we send them again? So I'm going to have to send them to her again tomorrow.
All right, whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So we're moving along with that. We have a new draft of it. It just seems to be moving toward conclusion, so that's good. Not much more to say about that. All right, Pollinator Pathways Project. Alex, do you have anything new on that? The Talamy was what, 250 people or some incredible thing?
I don't really have anything. No, that was amazing. It was so good, right?
Yeah.
And I know that they said that the people who've watched it subsequently are like creeping towards 1,000, I think, something
Really?
like that. So highly recommend. No, I think it quiets down is my understanding now for the winter. So fewer meetings, fewer newsletter sending out stuff.
Okay.
That's
All
about
right.
it.
Okay, very good. So the next item is the brochure. So Nick, do you have any news for us on that?
Not very much. Unfortunately, I've had a busy couple of weeks. I did spend a half hour on the phone with Bonnie last week
Okay.
to make sure I fully understood her concerns and why she wanted to be involved. So I've got some notes here. So she was concerned about three things. And the first was about public feeders. And that's obviously a kind of a universal concern, I'd say. She was interested in reviving
Oh, he's freezing.
something that she saw when she first moved to Woodstock, a publicity about bear awareness and living with bears and what you should and shouldn't do in terms of encouraging them onto your property. And she said that as a newcomer, she found that very, very useful. I have to say,
Nick, your audio is cutting out, at least for me.
Yeah, it's
I
cutting
can't
out.
hear
We
half of
can't
what
hear
you're
you.
saying. Could you try muting your video so that it's just the audio feed? Try it again.
Yeah, because I've lost half.
Yeah. So what I heard was that he'd spoken with Bonnie for half an hour and that there were three issues that she had. One, something about public feeding of maybe the animals. And then bear awareness was a campaign that she saw when she came early on. And then, I don't know,
Yep.
Nick, is that right?
yes. Can you hear me better now?
Much.
Much better.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Sometimes video just doesn't help at all, really. She had three concerns: public interactions with bears. She was concerned about roadkill, and she was concerned about predators and pet safety.
Ah.
Were the three things. And she had, like I say, she had suggestions for how these three things could be addressed, which I can talk to just briefly if the group's interested.
Yeah,
But they're,
briefly would be great.
yep.
I'd like to know about
Yeah.
coyote food and roadkill.
Roadkill. I mean, yeah, she was concerned that people were speeding. And we discussed this a little bit, and she also had an idea for increasing the number of deer crossing signs on the highways, just as a reminder for people that there is active wildlife crossing the roads all through town, even in the village. So that's something we can consider doing. I mean, yeah, can you still hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, all right, good. I mean, as I understand it, the signs on the road are the responsibility of the agency that owns the road, and we have town and county and state roads, and so trying to coordinate all of that might be tricky, but we might want to consider starting off with the town roads and perhaps having some signs added for that. So that was our discussion on roadkill. On the predators, her concern was that newcomers to the area would not be aware that there were coyotes and fisher cats and other predators like that would take small pets, really. And so largely it's a matter of trying to get the word out that there's an awareness of that, so people know responsible looking after their pets, especially if they're allowed outside, especially after dark. So.
Reasonable.
That's reasonable. I have this thing about signs. I am convinced that on 212, they see the signs and they go faster.
Yes, especially speed limit signs, really. I think people take no notice at all.
I've noticed in town, just in the last 5 years, people seem to go fast even through town, like they've never before done. I'd rather make an awareness of speed, period, just by somehow talking about it. I don't think signs are going to help.
That one sign that like tells you how fast you're going, I feel like those are very effective.
Yeah.
Because there's one on that stream road that's like the parallel road to town, and you always feel bad if you're going too fast. You slow right down.
Right.
Maybe
That's
we-
true.
I always feel bad if I'm going under the going slow enough to get a green light. If I get a green light, I feel really insulted. I would like to get into the red zone as quickly as I can. And I take your point about, speed and killing animals. I haven't hit an animal in about 15 years. And I mean, of course, chipmunks are
We don't
right
count.
out. I'll aim at the chipmunks. But other than that, I got deer in my backyard. There's a family of deer that cross my backyard all the time. There's a lot of people who don't drive with any consciousness. And, when I'm driving, I'm 100% focused on driving, not the music, not the passenger in the car, not where I'm going. But that's just, that's just me. I don't know if there's any solution. You can't give people a mind meld and get them to be aware.
Does anybody know who puts those signs up that can tell you how fast you're going? Who is that?
Is that highway?
I believe Bill has one that he puts out in various roads at the request of the local residents who are concerned about speeding, and that's based on some conversations I had with some members of the Land Conservancy who had one put on Blockman Lane by him.
One thing I've noticed in town, because it's definitely on Cooper Lake Road and it's probably elsewhere, but you know how newer cars will tell you what the speed limit is in your dashboard?
Right. GPS.
There's something here where like the GPS isn't always reading, and I think they're often incorrect. So like the speed limit on this road is 30, but on my car it says it's 55. So if I had just moved here or like was visiting, and I just looked at my car for reassurance, I would be speeding terrifically down this road. So I don't know if there's some way that the town can sync those things up, but people are definitely getting the wrong information.
That really comes down to a responsibility of the car owner or the GPS owner, if you own a standalone GPS as I do, to say that you need to update your info. Here's the correct info.
Right.
And
You say it says it in your car. I mean, I'm not saying that no one's responsible. That's exactly the problem. But if they're being like fed the exact wrong information right in front of their face, they're going to follow that exact wrong information. I mean, obviously.
Unless they're aware of what actually crosses the roads here. And I think that, they're driving through town with their windows closed, the radio blasting, or they're talking to the person next to them, or where they can hear somebody on the phone, not by me. I just don't think they're aware of the fact of what can fly out in front of them.
Well, so Julia had asked me, or I had volunteered to get in touch with some local realtors over the past couple of weeks. And I did. I talked to a few. And I got a couple different mixed responses, but I think it might be helpful to this cause. So the first one was that everyone agrees that it's a really important idea because they are often the ones that are getting called by new home owners with these questions. And they're like, we're happy to help, but also like we have other stuff to do,
Right. So if they had a brochure that they could hand out or something they could
So they thought it was a great idea. They thought it would be people would be interested in helping. Some of the feedback I got was that like, we have to remember that people sell homes here that are not from the area. So it's not like Woodstock homes are only sold in Woodstock. So there were some questions about who should distribute that kind of information. Like, is there someone in the town where like when you get your deed signed, you get it, or just that we wouldn't always be able to reach all of the realtors because some of them might be from all these different places, but they definitely seemed in general pretty receptive to maybe like if there was one event that we wanted to try to put together to get some of the information out and get them all on board as a group so that they were helping with distributing that kind of information. I think they agreed that it was, they're getting a lot of, I think, especially like a bear ate my garbage calls and things like that. And they were just like, I don't know, is there a way like when you change your address or when you get your tax documents or something that it just comes right from the town?
Alex, there's definitely a way to track sales, home sales in town. I don't know what it is, but one of our departments up on the second floor has that information. It may not be right up to date, but it's timely enough. And what occurs to me is that it might be a really nice thing for the town to put together a welcome to Woodstock packet with not overwhelming them with like a 20-page volume, but like a couple of things. Welcome to Woodstock. We want you to know that that this is you're in the woods now. You're in the country, and here are some of the consequences of living in the country. And don't put your garbage cans out too early. Don't leave your pets out at night unless you want to feed the coyotes and things like that. And so I don't know who in the town would be willing to do that, but I'd certainly, if someone wanted to put together a welcome committee, I'd certainly do my time.
Is this a very different idea, Nick, from what you had in mind anyway? It's sounding like maybe there are two different documents, or are there?
I think, yeah, hang on. Yeah, there we go. I think we're talking about very, very, very similar things, really. But what David was talking about was a very high-level summary that somebody would be very, very likely to read. Whereas I think we were using that as a jumping off, that kind of a summary material as a jumping off point to having more detailed materials available for people to do more research on. So the more details that have information about public transport and bypass, that kind of thing, basically. So I think it's related enough to be considered the same thing.
Nick, would it be hard to get that stuff? I was in the city for a few days, and like now when you go out anywhere, everything's on one of those codes where you scan your phone.
Right.
And then like everything comes up.
Yeah.
Would it be difficult to include something like that on a very simplified brochure that had basic information, and then when you scanned it, you got the full breakdown of all the stuff you wanted to tell them? That would be an easy way of getting people on board, I think.
Unless
yeah, absolutely.
Neighborhood.
Yeah, those codes are very easy to generate, just as long as you have a web URL for somebody to download. So yeah, and that's an excellent idea.
Yeah, that's really good. The QR code. Okay, do you want to say anything more about this, or should we move on?
Well, I guess I'm curious what the next step would be, because I love the idea of a welcome to Woodstock thing, and if Nick is willing to, he maybe is having different levels of information, like the one is the high level, when you come to Woodstock, the basic stuff, don't leave your garbage out, don't have too much noise, but then if you had more detailed stuff. So I didn't know what the next step would be on this, or just Nick's still working on it and you'll check with him.
There's a committee, so Alex and David, you're working with Nick, right? So
I haven't called the committee together yet, but the next step would be for me to do just that. And I think perhaps the first thing for us to focus on would be the immediate need for the summary information for the new residents, and we can think about what that would look like and how we can create it.
Well, and how to distribute it, whether it would be online or whether it would be paper.
Absolutely, probably both ways.
Yeah. So, but thank you. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Sounds great. Thank you. Okay. So the next item is Climate Smart Resiliency Planning Tool. Thanks to Ken, we had a meeting on Tuesday last week, and we moved immediately on it. It just sounded so good, and that the Cornell Extension and their partners would do a lot of the heavy lifting, and they would help us in the first quarter of next year to get an emergency preparedness plan pulled together. A lot of this already exists in different places, but the key is to pull it all together into one place and to have a centralized document, and everybody knows where to go and exactly what's to be done. So that's the purpose, I think. Ken, am I summarizing that?
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. It's the whole purpose is to collect and document everything that we have now, and to identify the holes and what else, what needs to be done to make the town more resilient and more prepared for disasters. So the first step is to just create a base base collection of documents and information to know where we are. What we do after, that's a decision that's made by WEC and the town board, and after we understand where what's missing.
And then,
Pull it all together.
I was looking at the comp plan and they said that, the town has some of this. And I remember having a conversation with Bill McKenna about this, and he said, oh, this is already set up. So I think somebody has to talk to him about this.
Well, we're going to do this anyway.
yeah,
Ashley and Bill were kind enough to sign off on this, sign the letter immediately, so they're aboard with it.
Good,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
and then, didn't somebody? oh,
We
sorry.
have that. Well, great. Where is it?
Well, no, that's what I asked about a year ago. They said we have it under
didn't-
So
control.
we're going to move ahead in the first quarter. It's a done
Yeah.
deal. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm
And
so-
Then I just had a quick question about it. Didn't somebody say, and I don't know if it was this group, that Jim Hansen also got all of the like fire departments to buy in and they were really excited about it because they felt a plan was good for like a flooding or anything department? Does that ring a bell with anyone?
Yeah, the behind it, they're concerned is what happens when when we get these rainstorms, how we
Right.
get emergency vehicles through flooded areas and what roads wash out and stuff like that. But that's sort of the follow-on work after we create the base documentation.
Okay.
I mean, it sounded like they also plan to aggregate a lot of what already exists as much as possible. So
With the NRI.
yeah, so I think they'll just be, if a lot of that is here already, she's just gonna be drawing it and putting
No,
it.
I'm absolutely thrilled. I think when we started talking about the comp plan, this was one of the things we talked about
Mhm.
in the initial, what are we going to do with projects? And I think this is a great idea. And the fact that we're getting help, just like we did with the NRI,
Mhm.
is wonderful.
Yeah.
This is great.
Exactly. Okay, good.
So
All
it's
right.
a scavenger hunt.
Yeah, that's it. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're now going to have a brief discussion of the SUMPUS application. The deal there is that Jim has taken a lot of the lead. He went out on site with Peter Cross. He said it's very clear that this is a disaster and we have to stop this. So the planning board is going to set up an official on-site with 3 of their members, I believe. It's unclear to me exactly when we'll be invited to join, but we'll have 3 members on our side join. And then, so it's Bob, you and Arlene and Nick and me. So we're the 4 and one of us will be an alternate depending on scheduling. So we're all set for that. We're just waiting to be called into action.
I thought the meeting was great. Listening into that planning board meeting,
Yeah. I did
it
too.
was intense, but it was good. And Peter was wonderful.
Yeah, he said there's no way we're gonna countenance this one.
Well, looking at those plans and the wetlands and how much they've spread out, it's pretty scary that they want to build roads through that.
That's right.
Julia, who are the 4 members who are going to be visiting?
Sure,
it's
sure. It's,
Arlene, Nick, you, and
Bob, Arlene, Nick, and myself.
okay, thank you.
They also, one thing I noticed about those plans is they didn't talk about secondary sites for septic. And some of those areas, they were so small around the houses. The house areas that they had created, I don't know if they could have a secondary site. And that's something that we always ask for.
That is a development that we could never let happen.
Exactly. It was a nightmare.
Right.
I thought that I remember seeing on one of the plans that I looked at, there were 2 sites for each of the septic systems.
Oh, I didn't see it. Well, it was so
What I'll do, Arlene, is I'll go and have a little look and see if I can find what I remember, because this first came up back in February, I think, and it's been a little while since I looked through that. So let me double check, and I'll send you what I have if I can find it.
Yeah, because they seemed really small and they seemed really sloped on some of the sites. I mean,
Yeah, there was I remember seeing plans with wells and 2 septic areas. And I was honestly a little puzzled at first why they would have two septic systems, but if it's intended to be alternate sites, then that kind of makes sense. But let me see if I can find it.
Great.
I mean, the arrogance of that guy, I think he could build something like that. It's astounding.
Yeah.
To be blunt.
Hopeful. They've had the property for a long time and they want to capitalize on it. They want to monetize it. So
But they already subdivided once. According to them, they already did that 12 acre subdivision in the front, which was the one that thought was feasible. And now they're trying to do,
crowded in.
yeah.
Okay, the final is new business. Bill said that he had seen a great documentary called Kiss the Ground. Did anyone have a chance to view
No.
that? I did, yeah. Okay, Alex, great. It's
I did. It was
streams-
great.
Great, wonderful. Streams
Can I
on
say-
Netflix.
Can I say something about it, Julia?
Sure, please do.
Mind? So I've been familiar with this for a long time. I sell the book in the store. I've had it for like a few years. And when I was on my camping trip the past few weeks ago, I really randomly spent a night at a regenerative farm in Kansas where we woke up and they were having a Kiss the Ground workshop there, an outdoor workshop. And anyway, it was a really long story. I ended up speaking at this workshop to this group of farmers in Kansas, and it was fascinating, and it was really cool. And we got to see the movie there, all unplanned, very exciting. And it's a really it's awesome, and the movie does a really good job of kind of making that information accessible to, I think, just someone who's never heard about a lot of that stuff before. I know you said Bill wanted to talk about how it could apply here, and obviously
Right. So we only have a limited number of farms, obviously, but his thought was that we could take some of the approaches that are espoused in this particular movie and somehow adopt or adapt them for our own purposes. And I would agree with that. I asked Ashley today, sorry.
I thought I would recommend that possibly that could be something that we could tie in with the pollinator pathway, because a lot of what they are doing is more of like a landscape appropriate version of that similar kind of ecological agriculture. Obviously, we have a lot more people here with gardens or just land than we do with farms. And so it seems like it might make more sense to somehow link it to that than try to talk about farm. I mean, we're not farming really in Woodstock for the most
no,
part.
he got, he wasn't.
Yeah, and he knows that, right? But we do have some people here who already are working on a lot of those kind of things. Maybe we can use that somehow. But the movie's great, and I made really good friends with some regenerative farmers in the Midwest. So if anyone ever wants to have one of them come and talk to us, I think they would love to.
That's great.
All the people from the movie were at this thing. It was like the weirdest.
Wow.
It was very cool. Yeah. But so I would maybe suggest we bring it up with some of those folks.
That's a great idea. So in terms of the timing, we're going to push it off until the new year, given everything that's going on.
I'm sorry, what are we
Good for
pushing
you,
off to the new year?
Alex, you've muted yourself.
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, next year.
Yeah.
What are we putting off to next year?
A formal discussion about Kiss the Ground and how we can use some of the precepts presented in the movie, in the documentary, adapt them to what we might do in Woodstock.
Well, so one thing that occurs to me that I just want to put in everyone's mind for next year is fine. The farms there are one link in a chain. People eating food is another link in the chain, and I'm part of that link of eating the food. I patronize. I buy a huge percentage of my food from local farms, and that's something that I do and can do and will continue to do. And that's something that, again, in the Welcome to Woodstock brochure, Nick, we could certainly put in. Did you know there are dozens of local farms in the area that grow the following foods? Chickens, apples, watermelon, and just give people a sense of what's available right here in the.
Sure.
within
So
50
list
miles.
out the farmer's market, and then is it appropriate to list out other CSAs? Or is that considered competitive to the farmer's market?
The farmer's
No, they're
market
not
is open all
competitive.
year.
The farmer's market is from all over too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
No, actually, there's a lot. Catskill Center works a lot, and also the farmers out west, Margaretville and West, they do a lot of farm to table and working with people in the city, and they're looking to expand in the Woodstock area. You know, we've talked about that because I work with Watershed Ag Council, and they're desperate for business our way. So there might be things that we can talk about with that.
That new Kingston food co-op that's going to open. I mean, I know it's not Woodstock, obviously, but one of the things that we even spoke about at this workshop is that, David, I agree, you're completely right, but there also are a lot of people who just like don't have those options. You know, like that's always the more expensive option. Quite often is to be buying the things that are grown the way we want them to be grown. So some of those places like the co-op, that I think they're like an interesting business where they're going to be bringing that kind of stuff to a greater number of people. I don't know if they want anyone in Woodstock involved. Like, I don't know how that would work, but you know, we might want to support them a little bit.
Yeah, there was talk when they did CVS, while they were building CVS, they talked about like the other half of it not being a bank and at one point being a food co-op. Do you remember that?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
Would have been a good
Yeah.
idea for Woodstock.
Hmm.
Why don't we have a food co-op?
Because we
Seems
have-
so
We
obvious.
haven't started one.
Sunflower instead.
When are you gonna start one? You got a retail space.
Yeah, but I don't have someone who can take care of all that kind of paperwork.
Hmm.
Hire my wife. She's good at that.
I was a member of the Park Slope Food Co-op for years. It was such a wonderful place.
Hmm.
It's great. Anyway,
Okay. Anything anybody would like to bring up before we adjourn? No? Okay. Our next meeting will be on November 4th, after a rather significant day on the 3rd. So it should be interesting. Wow.
Does anybody need any voting advice in terms of early voting dates, times, or anything?
Community center starting on Saturday, right?
Community center starting on Saturday. Early voting is this Saturday through Sunday a week after. So there's 9 consecutive days of early voting. The times are different every day, but from noon to 3 every day. There's more hours than that every day, but noon to 3, you can early vote noon to 3 every one of those 9 days, plus other hours before or after. But anyway,
community
yes.
center.
So
I heard that on Saturday, if you bring your I voted sticker to the colony, you get a drink.
Seriously?
you might. I don't have details on that.
Yeah, now I've got a question. I'm a new citizen and a first-time voter, and so I'm completely ignorant about what's going on. How can I find out what's going to be on the ballots?
Oh, you have to go to ballotpedia.com, Nick, and put your address in.
I know I've done that, and they didn't have any information about anything for the county or the town or anything like that. They only had the state and the federal races.
I think
Now
that's
they
just,
should, because it takes a while for it to get updated locally. But I just printed mine out because my husband needs a cheat sheet. So I circle for him like what to vote for, and it has everything updated.
Yeah, but there is no county or town elections.
There may not any be local
It's
elections.
just,
Yeah, state.
Well, there's like our local.
Alex, why don't you just send your cheat sheets with circles to Nick?
Do you want my cheat sheet, Nick?
I'm not necessarily going to follow your cheats, but I'd love to see the sheets.
I'm working on election day, so I can whisper to you who to vote for if you want.
And vote
The only
as many
local
times as
thing,
you can,
the only
Nick.
local thing on the ballot is the library.
That's right.
It's just the library. There's nothing else.
No, there's like
Everything else is state and federal.
Well, there's
the legislator, isn't there?
On the front, on one side of the ballot will be all the people positions. On the other side of the ballot will be the referendum on the library. So be
Right.
sure to flip your ballot over to be sure that you voted the way you want on each of those topics. And the other thing to be sure of is make sure you go all the way across of the positions. There's president, there's a lot of positions, there's state assembly, there's state senate. So be sure you voted for everything. Don't just do the president and quit. Be sure you voted all the way across the ballot. the way you want.
Absolutely. Making up my mind about who to vote for president's relatively straightforward and simple. But what I wanted to be
Yeah, there
sure
you
of,
go.
what I wanted to be sure of was that if there were other elections for positions, I wasn't quite so familiar with the candidates, that I had time to do some research in advance to make sure I cast my vote with thought.
I can talk with you offline. It's inappropriate. I'm on the Woodstock Democratic Committee, so that gives you a hint of which way I would tell. But if you want my opinion offline, I don't want to use my position as a Woodstock Town Board member, which is why I'm here, to talk about who you should vote for. But I definitely have strong opinions, and I'd be happy to share them if you want to get with me offline. And I've met all the candidates on the Democrat line, oh, by the way. So I do know that, I feel like I know them personally. I've had several conversations.
I voted a couple of weeks ago with an absentee ballot.
And so was that Ken?
I voted a couple of weeks ago with an absentee ballot.
So did I.
Did you
Yeah,
take
so
a
that-
picture
so
of it?
that-
I dropped mine off.
You can track it online. It follows the trail.
Oh, wow.
Nick, come on, get your Googling skills out and start Googling. It's out there.
It is. It
Nick,
is.
I sent you the link to the website that will show you your ballot.
Ballotpedia, yeah.
And then you
Yes.
can Google everyone that you want to look up before you get into voting.
Yeah. If it's just the federal and the state positions, really, I've already to do all of that. So because I found my own, it wasn't Ballotpedia, basically, it was another site, but they had statements and positions for all of the candidates there, and so you could do all your research in one place. It's just that they didn't have anything local, and I know in the past I've seen a lot of problems at the state level on environmental issues where you had the chance to vote yes or no for funding.
Okay,
Lost them.
So we lost Nick.
yeah, okay. Anybody else?
Republicans
I
do.
think that may be it.
Happy
8:06.
voting, everybody.
Yeah, really.
Yes,
It'll be over.
absolutely.
8:06, we're adjourning. Thank you very much. And thank you, Ashley.
Night.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night, everybody.
Good night.
To not be seen.